Ready? Masquerade, paint the faces on parade. Masquerade, hide your face so the world will never find you.
We want the barriers to be broken down so as actors they relate to each other. So in the process of putting them in the circle the way I do, they watch each other and they begin to listen to each other. They stop thinking about my part, my acting, my voice. And they think about our show and our performance.
In these intensive rehearsals, we are working to give the Phantom a life of its own. Each actor's part must fit with the others to make the production work. Every word and every movement must be fine-tuned. Ruth, Anne, and Jeffrey work with one mind to create the perfect illusion.
Rehearsals are always hard. Trying to develop a character, find the character. You go through periods of self-doubt and saying, oh, I'm the only one in the cast that doesn't know what he's doing, and look what everybody else is doing. But then finally you say, oh, that's what he is. That's who the character is. That's you.
A lot of hard work. I mean, that's the hardest work of all. It's strange because that's also the most creative period. You get to try new things. Even if the show's been done before and the director's done it before, he may want to see what you can bring to it. And whether you're a singer or a dancer, if you've got a lot to do in the show, those days are just horrendous because it really wears you down. So rehearsal periods are very hard, but they're also very creative. So you have that sort of split focus, and it takes a lot of your energy, and all you can do is go home and sleep at the end of the day so you can be fresh for the next morning.
As opening night approaches, the pressure is on to perfect the performance. But if it weren't for the producers who raised the money to mount this production, and who convince you, the public, to buy your tickets, we would not have an audience for whom to perform. Phantom has become an incredible success because of the persistence of its producers. Garth Drabinsky had the vision of bringing the Phantom to Toronto, and the courage to mount the most ambitious production this city has ever seen. His plan started with the purchase of the Pantages Theatre. This was the perfect venue for Phantom, and owning it helped Cineplex Odeon to acquire the rights to the show. Then, as the costs of both restoring the theatre and mounting the production grew into millions, the question for Garth as an astute business person became, how far can we take this? How big could Phantom be?
And the answer was, in every area, yes, we were going to go with the #1 team, the best approach. We weren't going to compromise because we were going to prove that we could bring theater to an entirely new level of appreciation for this city and for this country.
The Toronto production of Phantom of the Opera has had the largest advance ticket sale to date for live theatre, not only in Canada, but anywhere in the world. Howard Lickman, Senior Vice President for Marketing at Cineplex Odeon, explains the promotional plan.
We dared to be different. It wasn't a question of reading the book on how to do it, but it was more a question of writing the book and being able to gamble and take the risks and to try things.
We began our marketing of this project about a year in advance. The object was to make Phantom of the Opera a recognized trademark way in advance and to build and build and build the anticipation of the event.
There was a closer analogy to marketing a movie, and Cineplex Odeon is, after all, a movie exhibition corporation. We used movie trailers in the theaters, and one didn't see scenes from Phantom, but rather it was almost a sampling or a beginning exposure to the haunting music. We toyed with, the image of the mask and the mystery and the night and the Phantom. And we allowed ourselves to have some fun. Corporate sponsorship was definitely an integral part to the success of Phantom of the Opera. And we had a broad spectrum of sponsors who were reaching more and more people. But the main message, 95% of the time, was capturing the magic, the power, and the mystery of Phantom. Whether it was American Express telling you to travel the world with the rotating mask, or it was the Pepsi shattering of the silence of the water with the rose. One of the unique innovations from a technological perspective, and they've actually just recently won an award for it, was the Pepsi Phantom billboard. The billboard was blank, white by day, and only at night, as it got darker, did the Phantom appear, and did the Phantom message appear, face the music. Phantom is coming. Roots was a different type of sponsor. They were a licensee of the merchandise rights. The whole concept of selling merchandise to plays is new. It only came about really, with the whole Cats and Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis phenomenon. We felt that Roots was reaching their own set of demographics, that they had an upscale quality image, and quality was important to us. We went with Roots, which meant quality. We ran the non-traditional direct mail, go to the front of the line campaign in newspapers with American Express. We said, you can't even buy tickets unless you have an American Express card. We finally opened our box office at midnight. No more appropriate time for a Phantom to appear. And yes, the phones rang off the hooks, and yes, people were lined up at midnight.
For Garth Drabinsky, the phenomenal success of Phantom has been achieved through hard work and discipline, but also something more.
My experience has been to approach life with a passion, with a zeal, to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves, and not to be hesitant, to understand that experiences in life are like a hole opening up in the line in football. And if you're a halfback and you decide to run through that window or that hole in that line quickly, you probably are going to be successful. But if you hesitate, then you'll lose that opportunity forever.
While the marketing team has been promoting the show and the actors have been in rehearsal, the designers and the technical crews have also been putting in long hours at the Pantages Theatre, preparing the sets, lighting and effects for a show which has been acclaimed as the most elaborate ever designed for the musical stage. Ian Poole is the production director.
I'm essentially responsible for all the production elements for Phantom of the Opera. This includes not only the sets and props, but also the costumes, the lighting, the sound, all the technical effects, the special effects. So the show runs night after night consistently at the high quality.
Mistakes in the planning stage can be costly later on. So, even before we have the real theatre to work in, there is another theatre. This perfect scale model of the Pantages stage, complete with miniature sets and props.
The model is actually a working tool for the piece. It's used, first of all, for the designers to give them the visual aspects and the dimensions and the proportions that they're looking for from theatre to theatre. Secondly, it's used for the shops to give them a dimensional view of the product that they're building. It also gives them the paint details and the overall look of the scenes. From the model, you create the plans. That relates to how the pieces have to come up through the floor in terms of its relation with other pieces which fly in from the flies. You have draperies, over 13 sets of draperies which are flown in and out. The draperies don't just fly in and out, but they also swag and trip and festoon, travel, track. I mean, it doesn't end. It's probably the most complex show in the world.